Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and before we get anything started, I just want to say that I'm so sorry that this video is coming out so late. I know that I said I was going to get this Q&A out within a reasonable time, unlike all the other Q&As, but like every weekend I tried to film this thing, I either didn't have time or my camera was about to die, so I couldn't get it finished. But it's finally here, so again, sorry for the wait. And I also want to say thank you guys so much for all the questions, because your questions were really great this time around. I really do appreciate it, and thank you once again for 600 subscribers. The more I think about it, the more I just think that it's so unreal. I can't believe it's actually happened. And I want to say, you know, thanks for all the support you guys have given me. It honestly is so awesome. So for 600 subscribers, for over 140,000 overall video views, and for the support you guys have given me and the channel, here it is, the Rappter Q&A number 6. I hope you guys enjoy. So if you guys have been here before, you know how this works. I'm going to go through one person's questions first and then move on to the next person, because a lot of you guys did ask more than one question, and there are a lot of them, so let's just get right into it. So let's start off with someone good. Let's start off with KORIN O'Keefe. So KORIN O'Keefe asks, who do you think would win in a fight, Thor versus Green Lantern? Thor versus Green Lantern was actually a Who Would Win in Why episode I made all the way back in like season 2, which was like over a year ago, and in that video I said that I thought Thor would be the winner of the fight, but you know what, opinions change, and my opinion may have changed on the matter. In this case, I do still think that Thor would be the winner of the fight more often than not. However, after looking up more about Green Lantern for Green Lantern versus Nova, which was a Who Would Win and Why episode that I did more recently, I do think that the fight is closer than I initially thought. So I still think that Thor would be the winner of the fight, but that's just my own opinion. Are you a fan of rock music? I would say that I overall like rock music. There are certainly a lot of rock artists and rock songs that I do really like, some more than others. In terms of whether or not I'm a fan, I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan of rock music, because I don't like love all rock artists, or I don't love the genre rock in general, and you know, generally I just like all forms of music, so I don't really like have a certain genre that I really like. So I would say that overall I like rock music, but I wouldn't call myself a huge fan of it, but I do like it overall. What do you prefer, the MCU or the DCEU? This is just my own personal preference, but I like the MCU more than the DCEU, and this has nothing to do with whether or not I like Marvel over DC or vice versa or anything like that. It's simply because I think that the MCU hits more high points more consistently than the DCEU does. Like, looking back at all the DCEU movies so far, I really liked Wonder Woman, I liked Justice League, I thought that Man of Steel was okay, and the other two movies were just not my cup of tea. In terms of the MCU, however, I can count on one hand how many MCU movies I really just didn't like, and that's impressive considering that they've had the longevity that they've had, you know, like they've been around for 10 years now. And you know, even though they might not be all too comic accurate, you know, I feel like that the acting, the action, the storytelling, and the humor that the films bring is just, it's great. It's a great balance, and I have a great time watching them. You know, if I'm gonna see a superhero movie, what I want most importantly is, you know, to have a good time, and the MCU movies bring that consistently more than the DCEU movies do. If you like the DCEU more than the MCU, that's perfectly fine, that's your opinion, but this was my opinion, and I just prefer the MCU. Mr. Sports Guy 13 asks, do you prefer Marvel or DC? I know that I literally just said that my superhero comic preference has nothing to do with my superhero movie preference, but I honestly do prefer Marvel over DC, and I'm not really sure why, because I like them basically equally, but sometimes I find myself favoring Marvel just a little bit more. Maybe it's because I like their heroes more because they're a little more relatable and modern, if that makes any sense. Or sometimes it's because, you know, sometimes like Marvel, they like to keep it simple, because, you know, DC likes to reboot their universe every once in a while. It can get really confusing. Or maybe it's because I was just introduced to the major and minor characters in Marvel significantly before I was to DC. So there's a number of reasons for why it could be the case, but I think overall I do prefer Marvel over DC, but just by the tiniest of margins. What do you think the DCEU needs to do to get better? A lot of people like to say that the main issue with the DCEU is that it's like too dark and gritty, and that you need to give the audience a laugh every once in a while. And while I definitely agree with that, I think that the main thing that the DCEU needs to do to get better is to take it slow and to not try to set up every single movie that hasn't even come out yet. Because what I find that the DCEU likes to do is they like to cram everything into their movies because they're trying to catch up to Marvel. Marvel's had the longevity and they've had so much build up, and that's why their movies work. But with the DCEU, they're trying to catch up to Marvel just like that, and they try to cram everything into all their movies. They crammed, the Flash origin, the Cyborg origin, and the Aquaman origin, like, all into one movie, the Justice League. And the thing with the Avengers is that, we've already had individual movies to set up their origins. So what they do is they like to try to cram everything into their movies, and they're trying to catch up to Marvel too quickly. They need to do what Marvel did, though. They need to take it slow, they need to have the right build-up, and then they can have movies like Justice League. Because if you try to cram too much into a movie, it's not going to work. It's going to seem really rushed and really crammed. So yeah, stop trying to set up future movies all the time, and just take it slow. Don't cram everything into a single movie. Do you like Star Wars, and have you ever considered using them in Who'd Win and Why? I would consider myself a pretty big fan of Star Wars. I don't know like every single droid type or ship or anything like that, but I have watched all the movies and I have really liked them. So yeah, I would consider myself a fan of Star Wars. And in terms of Who'd Win and Why, Han Solo was actually in a Who'd Win and Why episode all the way back in Season 1 against Star-Lord, and he will actually be returning in the next episode of Who'd Win and Why to face off against Captain Kirk. So he has been in a Who'd Win and Why episode before, and he'll be in another one. In terms of other Star Wars characters, I would certainly love putting them in other episodes. I'm definitely not against it. I just haven't seen a lot of great suggestions with them in it. So the answer is yeah, I would definitely consider using them for Who'd Win and Why, definitely. Monster E17 asks, when did you decide to start making YouTube videos? Some of you guys may not be aware of this story, so basically here's how the channel started. Back in 7th grade, when I was in 7th grade, I made a rap about math. I actually did it for my math class. It's a little bit of a long story, but when I performed it in front of the class, my classmates really liked it so much, they're like, you should do something with that, like film yourself, put it on YouTube or whatever. So that's exactly what I did. That was my first episode, or my first video on YouTube ever, and my channel started off as a rapping channel. That's literally what it was. My raps are still on YouTube right now, if you want to cringe harder than you've ever had in your life. And clearly that's not what's happening right now. Obviously my channel has evolved so much, but yeah, that's essentially why I started making YouTube videos, and that's when I did it, it was like April 13th, 2014, I think. That was when I first published that math rap. But yeah, so that's basically how it got started out. Definitely is not the same now, but that's how it started. Jake B asks, who is your favorite MCU hero and villain? I'll answer the villain part of the question first, because that's much easier for me. I would say my favorite MCU villain is Loki, just because Tom Hiddleston brings so much charm and energy to the character, to the role, and I just love him in the role so much, although Killmonger in Black Panther is a very close second. And in terms of the hero, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna pick a lot of them. I really like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. That might actually be number one if I had to pick, because Tom Holland is perfect as Spider-Man. He is the perfect Spider-Man in my opinion. He's my favorite live-action interpretation of Spider-Man, like, ever, really. But I also really like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. That might be my number 2. And Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. So if I had to pick, I would say Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but there are a lot of MCU heroes that I really like. It's so hard to choose. What fight do you hope to see on Death Battle at some point besides Galactus vs. UNICRON? As many of you guys may know, Galactus vs. UNICRON is my number 1 fight that I want to see on Death Battle, which is weird just because I don't know UNICRON too well, but I just think it would be an awesome fight to see. But other than that, I would have to say Thanos versus Darkseid, because that one I think is long overdue, and I really want a definitive answer, because I know I made it into a Who and Why one time, but I want a definitive answer for it. I just think it would be an awesome fight to see, especially if it was in 3D. And other than that, if we're sticking away from Marvel versus DC or any of those characters, I would honestly want to see Captain Kirk versus Han Solo. I know that it's going to be the next episode of Who, When, and Why, but I would actually like to see it. It's Star Wars versus Star Trek. They're both kind of hot shots in their own way, and they're very grounded characters in their own worlds. They're both captains. I just think it'd be so awesome to see. So yeah, those fights I would really like to see on Death Battle at one point. Do you think your channel will make it to 1K before this year is over? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I personally don't think so, and the main reason for that is because I've noticed that the sub count increase has slowly been getting slower, and that's not the worst thing in the world, it's just something that I've noticed. Like, in terms of going from 400 to 500, it took significantly less time to go from 400 to 500 than it did from 500 to 600. And again, it's not the worst thing in the world or anything like that, I'm just saying that it has been slowly getting slower in terms of the increase. And we have, like, what, 8 months left until the end of the year? Just, like, looking at the sub count we have right now, I'm just not sure that we'll be able to make it within the time that we have before the end of the year, especially at the rate we've been going at right now. In terms of how many subs I do think we'll get by the end of the year, there's actually another question in this video that asked that exact same thing, so I'll just wait until I get to that question, but my answer is just no. I'm hopeful for it, you know, like, fingers crossed, it'd be freaking awesome if we did. I just don't think so, but that's just me. Phil Vlogs asks, could you give me a shout out? Sure, man, no problem. Everyone, make sure you guys go subscribe to Phil Vlogs, because he has some great vlogs and some great videos on his channel, and he really does deserve more subscribers than he has. I'll leave a link in the description to his channel, so you guys make sure you go there, because I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. How many subs do you think you will have at the end of 2018? Well, it took me about 4 months to get from 500 subscribers to 600 subscribers, and considering that we have about 8 months left until the end of the year, that makes me inclined to say that I might hit 800 subscribers by the end of the year. Obviously that might not be the case, you know, sometimes the rate could go slower or faster, who knows, but just for that ballpark estimate, I'm gonna say about 800 subscribers. I could be wrong, I might end up having much less at the end of the year, and that would be embarrassing, but I'm gonna give the ballpark estimate for me is about 800 subscribers, but that's just my guess. POWERPUFF fan asks, which country do you want to travel to? I think the country that I'd most want to go to, excluding the countries that I've already been to, would be Australia. Now, to be fair, it is a very long distance away, so that, you know, it'd be a long flight, it'd be very expensive, and you have to stay there for a significant amount of time in order for it to be, you know, worthwhile. But, you know, from what I've heard, there's like a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to look at and do and see, and there are places in Australia which are really rather beautiful. So, you know, I think that would be the place I'd most want to go to. Now, I don't know too much about Australia, you know, so, you know, I don't know everything that there is to do. I don't have an overwhelming amount of knowledge on it, but, you know, excluding the countries that I've already been to, I'd say that Australia would be my #1 pick. Which of these two superhero films do you love more, Logan or Wonder Woman? This question is so hard to answer, because I love both of them, but for completely different reasons. Like, for Wonder Woman, it was just so awesome. The action was amazing. I thought the acting was amazing as well. I mean, it was just an overall, and, you know, it was actually funny at certain points. You know, overall, it was just a really entertaining movie. But for Logan, it was so emotional. You know, Hugh Jackman's performance, so good. Everyone in this movie was amazing. And, you know, we finally got to see the R-rated Wolverine that a lot of us have been dying to see. And, you know, the ending, I'm not going to spoil anything or anything like that, but, you know, just the ending, it was so heartbreaking, and it was so incredible how well the actors did and how well everyone did. You know, the director, you know, he basically made a masterpiece. So I love them for so many different reasons. And, you know, even though Logan made me really sad at the end, I think I'd have to pick that one. Because, you know, even though I usually like going to see superhero films, you know, to have a fun time, and I'd say Wonder Woman did that much better than Logan did, Logan, it made me feel something. It made me feel something that no other superhero movie I felt could. And, you know, it was the perfect send-off to Wolverine, in my opinion, to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, I mean. So yeah, I'd say that I like Logan, but just by a little bit. I like Logan a little bit more than Wonder Woman. Do you love dinosaurs and other prehistoric life? Well, I wouldn't say that I love dinosaurs and other prehistoric life. I would say that I like them. I'd say that I probably like dinosaurs more than, you know, the rest of the prehistoric life, just because they're still, like, I think they're awesome, first of all, and there's still so much we really just don't know about them. Like, for example, we don't know what color dinosaurs were. Like, they could have been polka dotted for all we know, and I'm not sure if there's really any way we could learn what color dinosaurs were, so that's just really interesting. And, you know, and I've liked, you know, a lot of the Jurassic Park and the Jurassic World movie, or the Jurassic Park movies and the Jurassic World movie. That might be a little off topic, but yeah, overall, I would say that I do like dinosaurs and other prehistoric life, overall. MCKENNA asks, what is your favorite horror movie? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm really not too into horror movies. I haven't seen, like, a lot of the newer ones, like It, or anything, like the new It, or even the old It, or anything like that. I can really only count on one hand how many horror movies I've actually seen and remembered. I would say that two of my favorites would be American Werewolf in London. I'm not sure if you guys have actually ever seen that one, but I thought it was really cool and weird at some points. But I would say that my #1 pick would have to be Gremlins, if you consider that a horror movie. If you do, which I do, then yeah, I would say Gremlins is my favorite horror movie. JJ Slider asks, what is your least favorite character that has made it into an official death battle? I would probably have to say Justin Bieber, but Rebecca Black is a close second. What was your favorite season of Who'd Win and Why to make? Nothing to do with its quality. Even though I'm not counting quality into this, I would say that my favorite season of Who'd Win and Why to make would be the most recent one, season 8. And the reason for that is because I just thought that the fight suggestions were so great this time around, and I had a lot of fun doing them, like Batman vs. Black Panther, Beast Boy vs. Reptile, Scorpion vs. a Ghost Rider, and, you know, Thor vs. Shazam. They were all really great fights, and it allowed me to look at characters that I really, really like, such as, you know, Spider-Man, Batman, Human Torch, Scorpion, Beast Boy, and so much more. So the fights and the characters in that season were all really great, and, you know, the feedback was awesome. I thought that the research around, I know that this kind of has to do with quality, but I thought the research was really good, you know, my analysis on the characters, but overall, you know, just because of the fights and the characters, I really enjoyed making Season 8. I would say that's my favorite season to have made. Have you ever gotten into a series because that series was featured in a death battle? Yes, twice actually. The first time was Street Fighter. I don't think there was an exact death battle that really got me into Street Fighter. I just remember going back watching past death battle episodes and looking at Street Fighter characters in those episodes, and I'm like, hey, that actually looks pretty cool, and now I have a game from it, and I do really like it. And in terms of the second time, that would have been Ruby, after seeing Yang versus Tifa. I haven't watched all of Ruby, though. I've only watched the first 3 seasons, and I know there's more to watch, and I am planning on getting to it, you know, because I'm really behind now. But I do really like the show Ruby, and I'm looking forward to getting back into it. And yes, that was because of Death Battle, just after seeing Yang versus Tifa. So yes, Street Fighter and Ruby were the 2 franchises that I got into after seeing them in Death Battle. ZDogS asks, what is your current favorite episode of Battle Royale by Crossover X? I have actually never watched Battle Royale by Crossover X, however, after seeing this question, I will definitely make sure to give it a try. Do you think that memes or creepypasta characters should be used in versus debates? I think that these types of characters can be used in versus debates, but it works better when they're paired up against each other, like memes versus memes, or creepypastas versus creepypastas, or maybe even memes versus creepypastas. But when you have, like, a meme character going up against, you know, like a character in standard fiction, if you know what I mean by that, you know, it just doesn't seem to work too well. Sometimes, you know, with the interpretations, it can become really unfair, you know, in favor of the memes, just because, you know, their canon or whatever makes them so ridiculously powerful. Or, you know, it could even be the other way around, you know, depending on the circumstance. So I think that they can be used in versus debates, but it works much better when they're paired off against each other, because then there's less interpreting, and it becomes more fair, in my opinion. So in general, yes, but under certain circumstances. That's my answer. What is your favorite episode of Who'd Win and Why? I know that a while back I said that my favorite episode of Who'd Win and Why was Captain America vs. Deathstroke, and I do still really like that episode, but now I think I'd have to say that my favorite episode is Batman vs. Black Panther. And no, it's not just because it was proven correct by Death Battle, even though that does make it even better in my opinion. It's also because I think that I was on top of my game for my analysis and, you know, my interpretations of the research that I had, or that was given to me. You know, I think that, you know, the research was good. I thought that, you know, I brought up all the good points about these characters and how they stack up against each other. My reasoning was basically identical to Death Battle's, which is, you know, even better. So yeah, and it was just an awesome fight to make. You know, Batman and Black Panther, I love these guys. I love those characters. I'm not going to spoil who won or anything like that, but I do think that it was the best work I had done, and it was so fun to do. So yeah, Batman vs. Black Panther is my current favorite episode of Who'd Win and Why. One Pump Man asks, are you a fan of DBZ? I like to think that I am a fan of DBZ. I really like the DBZ characters and the concepts and the stories and everything like that, all the storylines. However, some people might not consider me a fan of DBZ because I haven't actually watched a lot of episodes of DBZ or really any other Dragon Ball series ever. I have watched some, but not too much. So in terms of that, you know, when you look at it from that perspective, I might not be considered a fan of DBZ. I just more so know a lot of the lore, but I do like to think that I like DBZ well enough anyway. Do you like any type of rap music, like hip-hop or hardcore rap? This answer is going to be very similar to the answer I gave to the question about rock music. I do certainly like a lot of rap songs and a lot of rap artists, again, some more than others. However, I'm not like a huge fan of rap in general. I don't love all the rap songs or all the rap artists or anything like that. I would say that I probably like rap more than I do rock in general. There are certainly rock songs I like more than rap songs in certain cases. But overall, I would say I probably like rap more than I do rock. But like I said, I like all types of music anyway. You know, it's just, you know, certain songs I don't like, obviously. But, you know, in terms of the genres, there's not one genre I really dislike. So yeah, I would say that while I'm not a huge fan of rap music, I still like it in general. I think it's fun to listen to. WARMEX ALQUIST asks, what are your favorite universes besides Marvel and DC? I'm just gonna go go off the top of my head and list certain universes that I really, really like. So let's see, I like Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Ruby, the Mario universe, the Sonic universe. I also really like the Lord of the Rings movies, even though, the Lord of the Rings universe, really. I haven't finished any Lord of the Rings movies. I did watch the Hobbit trilogy, though, so I really haven't watched too much. And I probably could keep going if I really thought about it long enough. But yeah, those are just some universes that I really like, other than Marvel and DC. Are you planning any new series in the future? Am I currently planning anything? No. Is it possible that something may come later down the line? Yes, absolutely. Because, you know, in terms of this channel, Who, When, Why, and the reaction videos are the videos that are getting the most attention. So, you know, those are the ones I want to focus on most often. If I was to make a new series and to try to, like, have it keep going as often as the other shows, I would probably do something, you know, like analyzing the science or, interpreting, superheroes and stuff like that. Like, there was one video I made which was, the truth about Superman's power, and that one got a lot of attention, that one got a lot of views, and that made me want to consider, doing more stuff like that, like maybe, like, going into, like, a certain superhero and figuring out, stuff about them, like, maybe, like, debunking myths, or, like, going into the science of how they work or something like that. I don't know, maybe something like it's like another video that came to mind is, like, talking about, like, how the speed of light works, maybe tying down to, like, the Flash a little bit, and talking about, like, what you would be able to do if you could travel the speed of light, stuff like that. So right now I'm not really planning anything, but I do have ideas that, if I had time to do them, I might consider, giving them a shot, so yeah. Do you think you would in the future consider doing more Who, When, and Why episodes with characters from fans? For those of you that aren't aware, I did, like, 2 episodes of Who, When, and Why that involved, characters made by fans of Who, When, and Why. Would I ever consider bringing those episodes back? Yes, I absolutely would consider bringing those back. There are times where I even think to myself, it would be cool if I did bring it back, in one way or another. Currently at this point, I'm not sure if I would bring them back, at anytime soon. But, later down the future, yeah, sure, maybe I'll do it. I'm not confirming anything, by the way, but, I would definitely consider doing it, possibly later down the line, absolutely. Z2Spooky4UO asks, which franchise do you think sells more merchandise? Sonic the Hedgehog or SpongeBob? This question is actually quite difficult to answer, because in terms of stuff like video games and everything like that, I would probably say that Sonic the Hedgehog sells more merchandise. Because I know that there are definitely SpongeBob video games, or like SpongeBob or Nicktoons video games and stuff like that, but I doubt they sell nearly as well as the Sonic the Hedgehog video games. But in terms of stuff like licensing, like putting designs on stuff, like lunchboxes or whatever, I would probably say that that goes to SpongeBob, because I don't see nearly as much, Sonic the Hedgehog designs on stuff like that as I do for SpongeBob. But because the question is, which company or which franchise sells more merchandise, I would probably have to give that to Sonic, simply because, there's so many different video games, and there's so many different Sonic fans, that the video games alone have probably made Sonic, like, so much money, that they probably sell better than whatever, merchandise SpongeBob has. That's just my own personal opinion. I could be wrong, obviously, but that's just my view on it. Tennille Moss asks, what videos are you doing in the future? Right now, the only videos I'm currently planning are Who, When, Whys, and, reactions to Death Battle and DBX and everything like that. It is obvious that, I may do other videos in the future, like that other question I got earlier, but those are currently the videos that I am planning and I know I'm going to be doing in the near future. Have you ever gotten into a fight at school? No, I am glad to say that I have not. I actually almost did, however, about 2 years ago, but I left before anything really got intense. It was just stupid. I didn't want to be a part of it. Do you like turtles? Yes. I like turtles. Silver Love asks, are you a fan of One Punch Man? Unlike the DBZ question, I can safely say that I would not consider myself a fan of One Punch Man. Not because I hate it or anything like that, it's just because I haven't watched the show, and I don't know anything about it, really. I know that the premise is, like, there's this, Saitama who can beat anyone in one punch, and, his life is boring because of it. I get that, but I don't really know anything more than that. I don't know any of the characters other than Saitama. I don't know, like, any of, the storylines or anything like that. As opposed to DBZ, where I do know some characters and storylines. So yeah, I'm not saying that I hate it or I dislike it or anything like that, I just don't know too much about it, so no, I would not consider myself a fan of it. Do you like Fred Flintstone cutting grass for people? Yeah, of course, who doesn't? King Riolu the Immortal asks, do you know the way? No, I do not. Show me the way. What is your favorite and least favorite Teen Titans character? My favorite Teen Titans character is definitely Beast Boy. That one's easy. I really loved Beast Boy so much. You know, I love seeing him on the show, and he's what got me into the Beast Boy of the DC Comics, and he's my favorite DC Comics character of all time because of that show, and because of that character on the show. In terms of least favorite, if we're sticking to the core 5 members of the team, I would say my least favorite member would probably be Starfire. I don't think I really liked her as much as other people did, although I do really like all of them. It's just she would be my least favorite. And in terms of, you know, least favorite Teen Titans character in general, you know, like outside of the core 5, I would probably have to say Kitten, but then again, I think she's supposed to be unlikable, so yeah. What is your favorite death battle? After thinking long and hard about this question, I would have to say that my answer would be Iron Man versus Lex Luthor. I know that my answer has changed many times over, but I would have to say that this one's my favorite simply because, you know, the animation is on point, the length is great, it's a great length for death battle, you know, the fight itself. What else? You know, both characters, I know both of the characters really well. You know, like, other 3D fights that I really like, you know, Dante versus Bayonetta or Wolverine versus Raiden, you know, I don't really know Dante or Bayonetta too well, and I don't know Raiden too well either. You know, I still know them a little bit, but not too much. But Iron Man, Lex Luthor, I know both of the characters, and I do really like them. You know, it's a Marvel versus DC fight with characters I really like. And like I said, the animation was great, the ending music I thought was amazing for the fight, and, you know, overall, I thought it was a really good episode. Even the pre-analysis and post-analysis I thought was really good. So yeah, overall, I would have to say that Iron Man versus Lex Luthor at this current point in time is my favorite death battle to date. Mr. E asks, what battles would you like to put into Who'd Win and Why if you could choose the battles? There are a lot of fights I'd like to see on Who'd Win and Why, but I'm just going to keep it small. You know, if I could choose some fights that I would like to see, you know, one that comes to mind is, you know, like Nightcrawler versus Beast Boy. I know that they don't have too many similarities, like, at all, but, you know, they're my favorite Marvel hero and my favorite DC hero, so, you know, there's that. And, you know, another Marvel versus DC fight I'd like to see is, the new Ms. Marvel, like Kamala Khan, or however you pronounce her name, I think that's how you pronounce it, versus Ms. Martian, because, you know, like, they're both, female kid versions of other heroes, and they're both shapeshifters, so I thought that'd be pretty cool. In terms of other fights, you know, I'd even like to see some joke fights, like, one that comes to mind is, you know, Inigo Montoya versus the princess, like, from The Princess Bride, versus Puss in Boots from Shrek. I think that'd be so fun to see. And another one would be, you know, Tigger from Winnie the Pooh versus Hobbs from Calvin and Hobbes, you know, like the stuffed tigers. Don't feel like you have to suggest any of these, you know, these are just fights that, you know, if I would choose, these might be some that I'd put in. And there are more I could probably think of, but yeah, I'll just leave it with that. Nicole Harper asks, what's your lucky number? Believe it or not, my lucky number is actually 13, and I know that sounds like a lie, or it sounds made up, like a joke answer, but I swear to God it's not. It's actually my lucky number, and it's basically my family's lucky number in general, and here's the reason for that. Well, there's actually a lot of reasons for it. So my birthday and also my brother's birthday, since we're twins, we were both born on March 13th, and my parents' anniversary was April 13th. April 13th was also the date that I started my YouTube channel when I was 13 years old. My mother got out of the hospital from pneumonia on January 13th, and there are more examples to prove why 13 is our family's lucky number. And it has this big thing about being so unlucky, but for us it actually is lucky, so yeah, that's really cool in my opinion. What's your favorite and least favorite school subject? My favorite school subject would probably have to be drama. It's actually switched many times over as I've gone up through the grades, but now I've basically established myself as a pretty big drama nerd, so yeah, I would say drama is my favorite subject, at least at this point in time, and it's one of the ones I do the best in. And in terms of least favorite, I would have to say, you know, like geography, history, that'd be my least favorite. I know some people really do like that, and they do use that, you know, in their careers or whatever, but I personally just don't think there's too much there's not really a practical sense for it. You know, there's not really a real reason to learn it, I feel, unless, you know, you're really going deep down into that path, you know, as a career choice. I feel like it's not applicable to most people's lives. Then again, I can say that for a lot of subjects, honestly, but for that, well, for those two in particular, geography and history, I feel like there's not really a practical sense for them, but that's just my own opinion. Do you know any magic tricks? When I was younger, I actually did want to be a magician. I learned like a ton of magic tricks, and I didn't put on my own magic shows, but I performed, you know, like amateur tricks at talent shows and stuff like that, and some people did really like them, and this lasted for a number of years. You know, it was something I was really into. It was one of my main hobbies back then. I eventually grew out of that, and I don't really do that kind of stuff anymore. It got really repetitive and boring after a while, but, you know, if someone gave me like a deck of cards or, you know, like the right materials, I could probably still pull off some of those magic tricks just from memory. So, but yeah, that was more of a back then thing than it is a right now thing. Lucas Green asks, what lantern ring would you have and why? If you were to ask me this question when I was like a really little kid, it definitely would have been an orange ring of greed. Simply because I just remember myself being so greedy. Like, I was like the greediest kid out there. I've kind of grown out of that. I like to think I'm not nearly as greedy as I was back then. And nowadays it's actually kind of hard to say which lantern ring I would have. I guess if I had to choose, it would be a red ring of anger. Even if I don't show it all the time, there are times where I can get really rather angry. So yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but if I had to pick it, it would probably be a red lantern ring. How would you rank the movie Spider-Man villains from worst to best? Giving all the reasons for the choices would probably take way too long, so I'm just going to give you the list from worst to best. Number 12 would be Rhino, number 11 would be Venom, number 10 would be Tinkerer, number 9 would be Electro, number 8 would be Shocker, number 7 would be Lizard, number 6 would be Dane DeHaan's New Goblin, number 5 would be James Franco's New Goblin, number 4 would be Sandman. When it comes to number 3 and 2, those two switch a lot, but I would probably have to say at this point in time currently, number 3 would be Dr. Octopus, number 2 would be Green Goblin, and number 1 would be the Vulture. Now, a lot of you guys probably have very different lists from mine. You might be thinking, how the heck did you put this guy this high, or this guy this low, or whatever? So, you know, we're all entitled to our own opinions. This is just my own list. I'm sure a lot of you guys have very different lists from mine, but if I had to make a list, that would be mine. Who would you say are the best Sinister Six members? For me, the best members of the Sinister Six usually correspond to the members that have, you know, been around the longest in the Sinister Six. You know, they're most known for being in the Sinister Six. And at that point, it kind of actually almost identically lines up to the Sinister Six that we used in Who, When, and Why. And at that point, I would probably have to say, you know, that my six that I would pick would be Dr. Octopus, Sandman, Rhino, Mysterio, Electro, and instead of Kraven, who was used in the Sinister Six episode, I would probably say Vulture. I think that Vulture is a much more prominent member of the Sinister Six than Kraven is. You know, I know Kraven has been a part of the Sinister Six for a while, but that's just my own opinion on it. So yeah, those 6 members I would say are my ideal Sinister Six, just because, you know, they've been around a very long time, and when I think of Sinister Six, you know, those are the ones that usually come to mind. So yeah, those would be my Sinister Six members. So guys, that's it. We are finally done the Q&A. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I made sure to answer all the questions, at least at the time of this video's recording. I made sure to answer all the questions that were asked in the comments of that video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If there was any question that you thought I answered wrong, or that, you know, you were expecting more detail of, or something like that, you know, feel free to just let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure to reply, you know, with clarification, because, you know, that might have happened. I'm not sure if it did, but if it did, you know, please feel free to let me know. And, you know, if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a huge like, comment below what you thought of it, what you thought of the video, you know, if you want more clarification, anything like that, just comment your comments. And if you could subscribe to my channel, guys, that'd be so great. That would really help my channel out. I really doubt that anyone new is going to be watching this, since this is more so for the people that watch the channel. And, you know, I really shouldn't be asking for more subscribers anyway, because, you know, we're celebrating 600 subscribers right now, which, again, I want to thank you guys so much for that, because, you know, it's so amazing. It's so unreal. I know I've said that so many times over, you know, for every single milestone that we've hit, but that's honestly just because it's true, and it becomes all the more true every time we hit a new milestone. It's just crazy. So again, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for everything that you've done. We're done at the Q&A. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see all of you guys in the next video. Stay awesome, guys. Peace out.